Okay, we are ready for this week's inbox, and I have Candice by phone. Hey, Candice.
Hi, Lisa.
Okay, we've got a fascinating topic this week from Anna. And Anna, it basically starts out, I'm going to kind of summarize her email because she goes into a lot of detail. And bless her heart, she just gives us a whole personal history here. So, Anna, we love it. But here's what she's talking about. She basically says, she talks about the hair topic, the blog post about hair, which got like 300 comments or something crazy, and how men tend to prefer women with long hair. Well, she says that she has difficulty growing her hair out. And so she talks about that kind of as an example of saying how much stock should women put in like their boyfriends or their husbands' preferences, and then how far should we go to address them. So, she says, and what about other adjustments I could purchase that he'd find enjoyable? She knows we've talked about plastic surgery in the past, blah, blah, blah. How much is too much? I mean, you could go eyelash extensions. You could go into colored contacts. You could, get Botox or whatever. Let's talk about the issue of attraction and what you do that's natural and what is going a little bit too far.
This is such a relevant question for women. I think we tend to feel insecure about how we look, whether it's because the guys in our lives don't seem to be responding or because we're just competitive with each other. I don't know about you, Lisa, but I tend to think more about what the women I'm going to hang out with will think about my new outfit than about what Steve will think.
Because they're the only ones that are going to comment.
Exactly.
That's why.
I will say when I met Steve, I had very short hair, and unbeknownst to me, he preferred long hair, which Jeff's hair post has now proven to be the case with any and all male species. But
he's back in the booth, by the way, Candice, and I just saw him smirk, FYI.
Good.
So you can address that when he gets home. We're going to address a question from Laurel, and this is another fun and touchy subject for women, so this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
All right, blaze away, Lisa.
Okay, and if you have any kind of sordid story where Steve is involved with this, I would appreciate it if you would just pull it out for the sake of all our listeners.
All right, I'm going to go into the data bank here.
Put him on the altar. Okay, here we go. She says, I recently met and quickly connected with a guy through a group of Christian friends. He obviously liked me and began pursuing me, and we hung out several times one-on-one at his initiative. Once, when asked by the waiter at a particular eating establishment if we were together, he said yes and then paid for both of us. I laughed to myself and thought, well, that's good to know. So last week, he asked me out to dinner. By this time, I was confident it was a date, which means I was going to let him pay. But in the middle of our rather deep conversation on topics like marriage and relationships and boundaries, topics he brought up, he said this, like you're a friend, a really good friend, but just a friend. And I was rather shocked. Too bad I don't have a good poker face. And this brings me to my question. Do you have any advice on avoiding the awkward who pays song and dance? I know what I expect when it's clearly a date. I guess my confusion lies with situations where that's either unclear or where, like with my experience last week, the dateness of the outing abruptly becomes unclear somewhere in the middle of the evening. All right, Candice.
Can I just scream? Okay, Laurel, you're asking the wrong question. The question is, what should you have said to him in that moment when you rightly did not have a poker face? He clearly misled you. He said something when you were out together as friends that made you think it was more than friends, and then he asked you to dinner. That is by definition a date. So at the point when he said, like you're just a friend, you should have said, wait a minute, Jim or Joe or Bob or whatever this guy's name is, and I hope you're listening, Guy.
Or Justin.
What are we doing right now because you asked me out to dinner? And then don't say anything else and let him be the uncomfortable one at that point. Mm-hmm. He owes you an explanation for what that was all about. And you absolutely should not have felt any need to pay when the outing was at his invitation. When someone asks you out and it is a man, he's in the position of buying the tickets or paying for the meal. This is just basic stuff.
Yeah. And I'm going to say, admittedly, we're hoping that a lot of the guys out there who've been reading Boundless for a long time and who've been listening to the show are not in this camp.
Right.
Because if you are, we are going to start doing some group therapy sessions with you, and we're going to get it done.
We're going to have Boundless team people show up at the dinner when this happens with a siren that goes,
yeah, and do those surprise like quality control checks where we show up at the restaurant and we're like, where's your wallet?
You're defrauding her.
Yeah. I'm here with Candice. She's here by phone. Hey, Candice.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Well, we have to help another girl out here with a boyfriend question. And this
really? A boyfriend question?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, it's a snafu. So she's dating a guy and has come to a little impasse on something. So we need to help her out.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. She says, my boyfriend's an amazing man and we have a really great and solid relationship. We've talked about so many things, and although we are not engaged yet, we're heading toward marriage. There's only one issue that I'm really struggling with, and that is the topic of children. From as early as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a wife and mother more than anything else. I love kids and have always wanted a big family. However, my boyfriend is opposed to having children. From the occasions we've been around kids together, I think he's really a natural with kids and would make a great father, and that if he was around kids more, he would get over his, quote, dislike of them. I'm really struggling with the possibility of giving up a huge dream of mine versus maybe giving up another dream, a man who seems perfect for me in every other way. Giving up either option here seems to be an almost unbearable loss. Candice, what can we say to her?
Well, the purpose of marriage, one of the main purposes is children. And so I'm glad that she wrote, because I think this is a huge issue. It's much more common today since we now have chemical ways of saying no to children and basically shutting parts of our bodies down for the purpose of avoiding children. And I think, tragically, we have, even as a body of believers, often seen children as a consequence to be avoided rather than a gift and a natural result of the sexual union of marriage. And so just to start out by saying, what a grief that a woman who is wired to have children and who longs to have children is dating a guy who, in her words, is perfect in every other way. And I'm assuming he's a believer. To me, it's tragic that a man who is a follower of Christ doesn't know that children is one of the main reasons God made us man and woman.
Will the purity ring ward off the wedding ring? And I am here to say, yes, take the ring off. The ring
Oh my goodness. That is so controversial, Candice. You just blazed me away.
The
okay,
ring,
go ahead.
at least I see your wedding ring finger is naked.
It is.
The ring is a symbol primarily to the wearer. It's an outward symbol of your commitment to God, and it's a sign between you and the Lord of what you're standing for. I don't think most people in our culture know what that ring means. And the wedding ring finger, though, is a universal sign that when people see a ring on that finger, they think she's either engaged or married. So why not take the ring off and put it on a chain and wear it around your neck? Have it on your right hand. Have it somewhere as a reminder to you of what you're standing for, and sort of a, it's you're in solidarity with God that you're going to be faithful to this and you're going to honor him. But why would you put anything on your body that would give the impression or maybe risk giving the impression that you're married? I don't see the benefit of it at age 29.
Yeah. I think it's cool when, for example, did this start in the 80s? I can't remember when the whole True Love Waits thing
It was either late 80s or early 90s.
Okay, because I think it was right around, kind of that curve of the mid to late 80s. And I think it's cool for girls who are like teenagers who do that kind of thing, like, have that ceremony or whatever it is with their dad that just shows, him protecting them and whatever. And that's neat. But once you do reach marriageable age,
right.
yeah, then you can take it off the finger. And maybe it is good to have it on that finger until you are,
right,
able to be married.
When you're 16 and you've got a ring and people say, well, what does that mean? Because obviously they know you're not married.
Right.
Then you have an opportunity to say, this is a symbol of a commitment I've made to save myself sexually for my husband. And I think then it's a great conversation starter. But you're 29, you're at a conference, you see a good-looking single guy, he smiles at you, then he looks at your hand and he walks away. He's not going to say, well, what does that ring represent? He's just going to assume you're married. So I say, take the ring off. Now, on the flip side, Lisa, all the married men out there, I say, put the ring on. How many times have you had a conversation with a guy and you think he's sharp, he's got it together, he loves the Lord, and you're talking to him and all of a sudden, horror of horrors, you find out he's married and you've had this conversation that could be construed as flirting because you had no idea he was married. I know so many married men who don't wear rings, and I do not get that.